The promo code is Dangle.
Dangle! Manscaped, 20% off free shipping.
There it is.
Balls.
Start the show.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Canada's Sportsbook.
S-D-P. The Steve Dangle Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Listen, I know the Stanley Cup starts today, but can we talk about Canada's U18 women's team beating the United States, baby? By the way, let me remind you that they won despite the fact that the United States had beaten them 7-0 like 4 days before, and that Finland had beaten them 1 or 2-0. And they beat Finland and the United States on their way to the championships. I just want to say
that's Canada's trademark. If Canada has a ho-hum round robin, they're winning. They're winning the whole thing. That's how it works.
Wow. I just want to shout out Mari Peterson, too, who is our goalie, who had a 113 goals against average and a 938 save percentage.
Is that good?
So
pretty good.
Were they not in the game? Were they allowed 7 goals?
They were not.
Okay.
I believe so.
Is that you coming away with?
And also,
you did a little bit of quick math. You're like,
yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
Annalise Bergman of the United States had a 1 goal against average and a 957 save percentage.
Jeez,
yeah. Honestly, the United States has been like I told you in the last episode, right? There's something about that thing. And we actually got a bunch of messages from people going like, oh yeah, the Canadian Hockey Canada system for developing players is actually highly criticized around the country. Right in the international community.
I did see that. It was a Finnish guy.
Yeah. And they said like, it's in Finland, the Finnish coaches all follow what the organization recommends, which is where in Canada, everybody's a good old boy who's like, no, I will not do what Hockey Canada says. I know better.
Yeah, I know better is what he said.
That I cannot 1,000% believe. I believe that.
Well, maybe they're right.
Yeah, maybe they are right.
Goal.
They did win, and that was fantastic. So congratulations. That was great. Also, there was a lot of tweets coming in about the effect on international hockey with the war in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine. So, sort of some fascinating stuff. It's funny. Some people from Czechia reached out and they're like, "Hey, the hell are you guys talking about? We're not close to Russia. We're like 1,000 kilometers away." I'm like, "That's closer to Russia than us, man."
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
And to be clear, I didn't mean you were closer to Russia. I meant you were closer to Ukraine.
Right.
Is true.
Yes, it is. You're closer than we are.
That's the country under attack.
Like, have you seen a map? I'm like, yeah, I know where Canada sits. Although I guess on the other side, on the Alaska tip, we're closer to Russia.
Oh, weird.
Right?
Oh, weird.
So maybe they had a point. It is Stanley Cup Day, so yay for that. Hooray. Stanley Cup Day. We got the Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche, and Steve starts his streams tonight.
I do.
Are you ready?
No.
What are you not ready about? Like, how do you even prepare for it?
Just try not to fuck it up. Just try to do a good job. It's
like, did you do homework or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
I do some. Yeah, it's not like here. People they don't understand the job Adam does where I just show up like some asshole. And Adam trusts that I will have read and watched and listened to all the things that I need to.
Yeah,
and
like
also avoided
50
the things I need to.
Like 50 or 60 goals of Austin Matthews on YouTube in a supercut in the middle of the summer. That's why I can trust Steve to know his shit.
Yeah. So when I come in, I'm just like, what do you want to know? And Adam goes through the list of what he wants to know, and I can give it to him. But like, fuck, he puts in a lot of work.
Oh, thank you, Jed. Thank you, Steve.
Whereas, for these streams, I don't have to do that because I'm just already fucking brilliant.
That's right.
No.
You got to do homework.
Yeah, I'm going to say Arturi Lehkonen as many times. I'm going to say his name over and over again like it's a Hail Mary.
I hope Mikko Lehtinen saw it. That's all I hope.
He might have. He might have been like, why did all these people tag me in a tweet today? Like, why do I keep doing this to players? I did that to Nick Robertson too. He told me, he's like, I checked my phone and I was like, what's going on? Because I called him a defenseman. But no, it's actually kind of great because I just called a Colorado series and only a month and a half ago I called a Tampa series. So I feel like I know the teams pretty well. I'm excited because it's going to be great hockey. Starts at 8, Sportsnet YouTube channel. And I'm excited for all the legal viewers who don't use a VPN to watch two American teams. I'm excited.
Jesse,
for all the legal viewers.
What's up?
last episode you said that you felt Colorado was going to win this series in 7 games.
Yes.
Okay. Have you
Dumbass.
have you moved off that perch at all?
Sorry.
Do you still believe that?
No, I'm still on Colorado.
Do you still believe 7 games?
Yeah, the games thing is so hard to predict, I find. It's like no matter like you can be right about the series and just completely wrong about the games. You know, like Colorado Edmonton, I don't think anybody called a sweep, but everybody's kind of right about how the games would play out. You know, it didn't feel like a sweep. It felt like a longer series and it went 4 games.
Yeah, like I don't think the Oilers got their asses kicked.
No, I don't think anybody looks at that and be like, they got demolished.
Panthers got their asses kicked.
Yes.
That's a different sweep. See, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. You know, like that the games thing is so hard to predict. But yeah, I think if it's tight, you know, you kind of default to 7. After your streams, before we move too far from that, after your streams, everybody has to remain on YouTube because tonight is the return of Game Over.
Right. Yes, it is the return of Game Over.
Andrew Berkshire and friends. So it's going to be a rotating cast of characters who were doing the game overs for the various teams earlier in the playoffs. So we're going to have a return of Peter and Audie and Rahef. I think she's on vacation, so she probably won't.
From what I understand, she's in Jordan, which is amazing.
Okay, so no Ref.
Yeah. Incredible.
Andrew's going to hop on a couple of shows. And so, yeah, look out for that. After every single Stanley Cup Final game, Game Over, we're calling it Game Over Cup Final, live post-game,
And
after Steve,
the
on our
return-
channel.
the return of Cup Check on
What is
my
that?
YouTube channel.
I've never heard of it.
Wow. Well,
What was
it's a
that garbage?
YouTube series that I've been doing for several years now.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Where I do a video after every single game of the Stanley Cup Final, just talking to producer Drew about whether or not they're going to be night of or morning after.
Is that
we're not sure.
Is that Sportsnet or Steve Dangle?
Steve Dangle?
Okay.
YouTube channel. So 3 different YouTube channels you need to be tuned into.
It's a lot of channels.
Yeah,
I hear nobody watches those videos.
a lot of them do.
Steve,
A lot of them do.
Steve.
As many as the Leafs, if not more.
Steve,
It's not.
are you still a believer in Tampa in 6 for Monday? You said
Yeah.
Tampa in 6 on Monday.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Why are you looking at me?
Because you didn't say that, so you're an asshole. No,
Jesse thinks Tampa are bad because he didn't pick them.
You want to put
Yeah, it's
donuts?
like-
You want to put donuts on it?
oh shit! Yes.
Well, yeah, because it'd be you versus us. I believe the same thing Steve does. So yeah,
So
donuts on it.
does for the purposes of our bet, do games played matter, or is it just
No,
who
no,
wins?
who wins the series?
There it is.
We'll put donuts on it.
There it is.
All right.
Let me ask you this: what does it actually mean if Tampa wins this series?
The first true dynasty of the Cap era.
What was the last true dynasty?
Who was the last team to win 3 straight?
I'd say it's the Islanders.
Probably the Islanders.
We don't give the 80s Edmonton Oilers a dynasty status, even though they had 4 cups in 5 years.
It was 4 out of 5. Yeah, I feel like there should be a special asterisk.
and in 6 years they had, or no, so I think
You're
over the
thinking
course of
Messier.
like 8 years, yeah, they had like 6 cups in 8 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's a dynasty. That has to be.
Yeah, I think it's okay to give them. I don't know. You can award honorary doctorates. I think they earned it.
Okay.
So probably first dynasty since the Gretzky, Messier Oilers.
Especially because the Oilers, the last Islanders Cup of their straight 4, they beat the Oilers. You know, and then
Yeah.
the next year,
And that was a war.
And then the next year, it was Edmonton Islanders again.
Yep.
So I 100%, you correct me, like it's the Oilers, then the Islanders. It'd be Tampa, then Oilers, then Islanders. The
And then
3 most recent dynasties.
Canadians,
then we
probably
go way
before
back.
that. Yes.
few
Then there's
teams-
6 teams, and everybody kind of takes their turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few teams have come close since then, like the Lemieux Yager Penguins with their back-to-back.
Detroit had a couple of.
Yeah, but they I think we all agree they were the best team.
There
or
was a
one of-
Wings era, but I don't know. Was there a Wings dynasty?
They were a top 5 team in the NHL consistently for like
A decade.
12 years.
Yeah.
And for anybody,
but
I'm
they
gonna
didn't win.
For anybody who doesn't know
All
this,
the
I'm
time.
going to pre-argue this one for you. The NHL defines dynasty as 3 cups in a row. That's how the NHL defines
Right.
it.
Ooh. They
They wrote that down, I believe, didn't they? Isn't that a thing?
I do remember someone sending that to us because we discussed whether or not the Blackhawks were a dynasty.
Right.
Which
No.
This is how good Tampa is. I'm looking at what they're doing and what the Blackhawks did, and I'm like, oh, Tampa's better.
Way better.
Like they're clearly better.
Mhm.
And that's through how tainted everything is with Chicago. It's like they're on the verge of winning 3 straight cups here, or they're at very least in 3 straight finals. Who was the last team to do that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
3 straight finals, last team.
Probably the Oilers.
Probably the Oilers.
Let me.
And that'd be the Oilers probably in the mid 80s, probably 83, 84, 85.
I don't think it was the Pens.
Because the Oilers Cup run, they won their first cup in 84, and they missed that one in 86.
Detroit and Pittsburgh swapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last 3 straight finals is the Oilers.
Crazy. Yeah, like they're. What was the word? I think CJ used it. Dynastic?
Dynastic.
I don't
Ooh.
think that's a word, but it ought to be.
Sounds like part of gym class.
Yeah, all right, everyone.
We're going to do dynastics
We're going to
for
do
the next month.
dynastic, and it's going to be awful. Now do it in front of all your peers at a vulnerable age.
The Oilers weren't even like 4-5. They were 5-7. Because they went
That's so gross.
84, 85, 87, 88, then 90.
And the only 2 teams to win,
Holy crap.
Montreal and Calgary were the only other 2 teams that could sneak a cup in that.
Yeah.
And, so it's so funny. Hey, coming off the 80s, you would have been like, well, Canada's where the Stanley Cup lives. And we've had 1 cup since.
And now it's, oh man, Canada sucks. Piece of shit. Gary Bettman's trying to keep the cup out of the country.
If Colorado wins this series, could they be? I'm not asking are they. Could they be the next Tampa? Because they have some very interesting free agency decisions to make this year.
Mm-hmm.
Nazem Kadri being the number 1 factor in that. But even without Naz, it's a pretty flippin' good lineup. It's been very successful.
Here's the biggest difference to me, because you're going to look at the guys they could potentially lose. Tampa's lost some guys. They've lost some big pieces, right, over the course of this dynasty. It's actually kind of amazing looking at the difference between the 3 pictures they have so far. The 2020, hey, we won the cup, 2021, and now we have them winning the Eastern Conference. So obviously it's a little different. Oh, look, there's Zach Bogosian. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, he was on the Leafs. And then, he's back. Those funny little things. To me, the biggest difference between Tampa and what could be in the way for Colorado, becoming the next Tampa is goaltending. Tampa has and drafted and developed the best goalie in the world. Colorado has Darcy Kemper. And I'm not trying to take a dump on Darcy Kemper, but these 2 things
not
are
Andrei
not the
Vasilevsky,
same.
yeah.
They're not the same. Francouz isn't the same. If Colorado has a goalie in the system who is 3/4 of Andrei Vasilevsky, I think they'd be thrilled. Could Annunen be that guy? I don't know. Maybe. They're a unique beast because on top of being a top 5 team in the league on paper, lines 1 through 4, pairs 1 through 3, they have the best goalie in the world. It's a really difficult combination to beat.
When you look back at the playoffs, guys, first up, I want to know things that stick out about the entire playoffs. I'm not just talking about Colorado and Tampa, but it seems like a good time to kind of think back about these playoffs. And then how will they compare to the playoffs that you've watched in the past? How will you remember this year? Because each year you can remember something. I can remember 2012 when all of a sudden LA, who finished 7th, were all of a sudden just this unstoppable beast.
They were so distracting.
It was crazy, right?
Yeah, I couldn't help but follow them. There was Philly-Pittsburgh. That was fun.
Yeah.
But I had to watch that series or that journey for the Kings.
For me, I think if you're trying to build a storyline, I think you do this playoffs as the playoffs of goaltending, because the first we have the Jake Ottinger coming out party.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
We have the Connor Ingram game and then failure. We have the Casey DeSmith, Louis Domingue. We have Vasilevsky showing up again. We have Igor coming out party as well. I'd count that. We have the missing goalies in Saros and Freddie and I think
Antti
like
Ranta coming back to the fore, right? It's like, holy shit, he still got it. And then he
Antti
gets injured
Ranta
again.
stepping in. And I think
Kemper?
the Kemper, Mike Smith up and downs,
Yeah,
I think like that's how I would build if I was building an article on the playoff narrative. I think it's the playoff of the goalies.
As Jeff Merrick loves to say, hockey should just be called goalie. in a season where save percentages were down basically across the league, all the standouts stood out in these playoffs. I like the feistiness of the New York Rangers. It feels like there was some sort of story or controversy with them every single night. I think we're going to remember Nazem Kadri versus the Blues as a moment, because like it's like that series had difficulty continuing.
Yes.
After that, it's like, okay, and then Colorado ended up winning game 3, but like, okay. Like game 3 was just an extension of game 2.
Yes.
Game 4 felt like an extension of game 2, 5, and so on. Brady Tkachuk and the Sea of Red in Calgary.
Yes.
And that ridiculous saga with the Tkachuk family watching Matthew and the Battle of Alberta. And
That was cool.
all that
For the
silliness.
first time ever, people made arguments for a guy who got swept in the 3rd round winning the Conn Smythe in Connor McDavid.
Man,
Oh.
the guts of Leon Draisaitl.
Leon Draisaitl playing with no foot.
The unfuckwithableness of that duo, like they're none debate the best duo in the National Hockey League.
Till next season.
There's just nothing. I thought the first round was a lot of fun. How many game sevens were there?
round.
5
Yeah.
Yep.
5 game 7s.
out of 8.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
And the Minnesota Wild played in these playoffs.
Wow.
They did. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, they did.
Yeah.
We'd all forgotten that, hadn't we?
Did they go to 7?
Oh my God. A Flurry getting benched
Yeah.
Again?
in game 6?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
brutal.
But it worked out really well.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. They definitely
great.
lost. Vegas missing. That was coming into it.
That's an interesting.
That was a fun one.
That's a story in the fact that like they missed it and they're over and they're a mess.
Yeah.
And they got a new coach, which we'll get to in a bit. I wanted to know kind of how you would remember these, and I feel like too it's important to factor in the fact that these are. COVID hasn't gone away. Like people still get it. You still end up in a hospital. It's still dangerous, whatever. But this is the first playoffs that felt normal since 2018
And if
or
you
2019.
if you
excuse me.
drive to the border and walk over and they don't test you, then you don't have it.
It was a factor in multiple series. The Leafs Lightning one and the
Oh yeah, they had to bus it, right?
Oilers Colorado
Can you explain
one.
that?
Yeah, so if you fly, I believe they dropped this mandate yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what it was earlier in the playoffs is if you fly from, let's pick, Toronto to Tampa,
Yeah.
Canada to America.
Canada to America, you have to test.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
get a pre.
Why don't you do this?
Okay, so you fly from Canada to America. You have to get a COVID test, and you have to test negative to hop on the plane and test, and then fly. But if you take a land border, there's no testing requirement. So teams bus down to Buffalo or the border in Vancouver or in BC or wherever they wanted to, and they would take the land border and they would bus over and then hop the flight from Buffalo to wherever they were going from the States. Because then you avoid the testing requirement if you hop on a plane from Toronto to wherever. So we don't know if you have COVID if you're not getting tested.
So I'll just straight up say it. It's very likely players played in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year with COVID.
We wouldn't know.
yeah.
We don't know.
With COVID.
We
Yeah.
don't know.
We don't know for sure. I have heard some things, but it is very possible that players played positive with COVID. And it's like, do one thing or the other. Do one thing or the other. Either you have to test before you cross the border
That's-
or you don't.
And let's not get too far into that, but I just wanted to say that these were the first playoffs that felt normal.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my whole
Outside
point.
of that.
I don't want to listen. Public policy on COVID, I could care less at this point. I'm done. I'm so tired of hearing about it.
It did affect one team, actually. It affected the Boston Bruins,
Yes.
who were without Charlie McAvoy
Oh,
for,
yeah.
was it 1 or 2 games?
And there's
It
two.
was so they like retroactively kind of pushed back his quarantine date so that
Yes.
he only had to miss one game.
There was some
Because didn't he play in a game?
shenaniganery.
He I
played
think,
in a
I think it
game.
was a Thursday game and the next game was like Sunday. So they're like, oh, he got it Thursday was a close contact, so by Sunday he's good to go, and then He like missed one game or something like that. I forget the exact details. Don't yell at me, Boston, if I got that wrong, but that's kind of the gist of what happened.
How do you not know Charlie McAvoy's COVID history?
I'm sorry.
Jesse.
It was a long time ago.
Stupid. Somebody comment about how stupid that was.
Stupid.
I think it's just it was nice. It was nice to just have it happen.
Oh,
Because
great.
we were talking about for 2 years. Well, there's a challenge when it's like, hey, I'd like to do this thing. It's like, well, there's 18 challenges, and once you solve those challenges, there's 8 other challenges per challenge that you will be challenged with, and I'm done.
You know what made it easier for me, like covering it, is there were other things outside of hockey to look at and experience.
Like the world was happening.
Yeah, the world was happening. Like just last year, I locked into the playoffs. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I obviously, lock into home life and being a dad and everything. But like, it's been nice to like, I've gone and seen friends. I've gone and seen family.
And I think
I went to a concert.
If you're not from Canada, and specifically, I think Ontario, Quebec had this a lot, but Nova Scotia had it as well. Alberta was a little more loose, but in the United States, it's like they had their first wave and then like, that was it. Yay. And they're like, wow, these are some concerning COVID numbers. And people are like, well, that doesn't matter. Blah, 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 blah. I can't see that. In Canada, this time last year, we still couldn't even go outside and golf. We couldn't play tennis. You weren't allowed to play soccer on a field this time last year, mid-June. So, that's the perspective for me is like how far we've come. And it wasn't really a lockdown, but we weren't allowed to have people in the stadium was less than 5 months ago. In Canada.
Leo's first birthday, we did 2 days, right? Because there were capacity limits for our house.
Like 5 people in a house.
Yeah, and we forget that this season the Leafs played a compacted schedule from February on because all of the December games in Canada were essentially postponed.
Them and a bunch of other teams.
All the Canadian teams essentially. And last year, to your point, Adam, if this was a Stephen Brunt narrative retrospective, he'd start off with the return of the fans. Last year in the Stanley Cup, three. How long did it go? 2 games in Montreal?
No. Did they play?
How many games did they have in Montreal?
Wait, when? What?
Last Stanley Cup final.
There was a 2.
2 games in Montreal, 5,000 fans.
I remember that.
Last year's
5,000. We were like,
last year's Stanley Cup final. Tampa, Montreal.
And people didn't like that.
5K
I don't
fans.
remember that at
and
all.
then they were going back and forth, full building in Tampa, 5K in Montreal.
This time last year, I had 1 vaccine. I'd had 1 dose. I didn't get my second till early July
Yeah.
because we couldn't get them.
Wow. I feel like
And then everybody in the States was like, yeah, I just went to Walgreens. What's the problem?
I feel like this is an after
Motherfuckers.
I feel like this is an after the cup final is done conversation. But like I was talking to some friends yesterday, and they're like, "Man, the last 2 years just feel like a blur. Like it just feels like it didn't happen." I'm like, "Yeah, I got a toddler," and they just all sort of looked at me, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know where I got him."
Yeah.
Like, he just showed up.
I think the only thing, to be honest with you, the last couple of years that sort of kept me engaged is hockey. Thank God for hockey. Thank God we had it. Thank God we had the show, because it's sort of like it was, getting through it one day at a time, sort of grinding through that. And okay, what do I got to get? I'm really upset with what's happening in the world right now. I gotta put a show together. Let's focus on the show. That part of it, thank God. And that's the reason I want to have this conversation now, because once the Stanley Cup ends, guys, we talk about, the NHL awards are happening during the Stanley Cup Finals this year. They're next week.
Yeah.
And then we're off to Montreal draft.
Yeah.
And then free agency right after. So it's sort of like it goes Stanley Cup bang bang. And I wanted to make sure that we talked about the rest of this year. It was still a weird schedule at times.
At times.
But this last little bit from, I would say, late March onwards felt real and normal, and like I could trust it.
Yeah.
January sucked ass.
It did.
You couldn't.
I got COVID in January.
I got it in February.
There you go.
That's pretty cool. It was impossible to lock in because every Canadian team was playing every 4 or 5 days.
Yes.
It was impossible to. When I say lock in, what does that mean? Care. It was impossible to care. I don't know if the players cared. The fans definitely didn't care. Numbers went down and everything. No one cared. And so I think the fact that the hockey has been so good and there's been so many stories and it's been so fun has been greatly welcomed by all involved.
Agreed. So listen, with that, let's get into the odds on the Stanley Cup Finals. First, though, as always, with You Can Bet That, we just want to make sure that you know that you can click on the link in the description for safe gambling strategies. And of course, it's 18 plus, and please play responsibly. Dave Bastel, Sports Interaction. Now, listen, we've talked about the Stanley Cup Finals and like the Tampa and Colorado thing. Sure. Let's talk about the odds that you have right now at Sports Interaction. So obviously, we're talking about total series goals to start.
Yeah, total series goals. Now, this is interesting. So you have to kind of predict how many games do you think this is going? 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. The total right now at Sports Interaction is 32.5 goals. So I crunched the numbers quickly. If we go to 7 games, the two teams have to average 4.6 goals. I think that makes sense. If it goes to 6 games, 5.4 goals. So are we thinking the series is over before 6 or 7? Like, is it going to be a 4-game sweep or a 5-game sweep? Because I mean,
we called 6 last episode when we were talking about this, right?
What I have.
I don't remember if I said
Yeah,
6 or
you
7.
said 6. Jesse said 7.
I said 7. You said 6.
Yeah, I said Lightning in 6. You said Lightning in 6, and I think Jesse said Avs in 7.
Yeah.
So I think for Jesse, it makes sense if you believe that you're taking the over.
Right, yeah, because there's going to be a lot of games, and I assume a lot of scoring.
I'm taking the over regardless.
Are you really?
Oh, yeah.
wow.
With
Yeah.
Vasilevsky?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Dave?
I know. It's weird that way, right? So 6 games would be 5.4 goals. And you think, yeah, they should be able to do that every single game, right? But I don't know. It's one of those number crunching things where you have to go, okay, well, how many games is this really going to go? So,
I love this one. Number of series overtime games.
yeah. So I know.
What would you that's a good. Is it?
And there's
what's it set at?
What's crazy? So there's none at 350, right, Dave? And then, but tell me, where do you think the best value is here? Because there's like a full list.
Well, odds makers are thinking there's at least one overtime game because it's the lowest odds at 245, right? So there is some decent value on 2 games to go to overtime at a 375. None at all is a 350. I just look at that and go, you know, as a fan, I want it to go to overtime.
What is it for 3?
3 is at an even 8.
That's mine.
Okay, now 4 or 4 plus is 17.
Yeah, I don't think that's good.
No?
No.
I hope it does, just so I can see what Steve looks like after his Stanley Cup streams. I'm really kind of excited for that.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another 5 overtime Tampa game. So happy they're still here.
Free hockey. I love it.
Now,
Starts at 8.
Before we go, Dave's a big Jets fan. We've been teasing him about Trotz all offseason. Jesse, you have something to bring to the table.
Yeah, because a couple of weeks ago we talked about Barry Trotz going places and how there's a bet on Sports Interaction where you can bet on what NHL team does Barry Trotz coach next. And I placed a bet on the Winnipeg Jets. Ooh. And I got that at 3.45 odds. So it's a pretty nice payout if it happens.
That is a very nice payout. And we've heard news about Bruce Cassidy, Vegas.
Absolutely.
We heard news about John Tortorella, Philadelphia. And just to let you guys know, this was sent to me in the mail yesterday.
No.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness.
A Trotz Winnipeg Jets.
Whoa, the old school, too.
I have some very optimistic friends. Good ones. But I'm just saying.
The jersey
he doesn't sign there. I'm not a jersey lighter. I can't do that.
No.
I want to do something, but I'm like, because the other thing, and I'm not trying to rain on my own parade here. I saw a report yesterday that Barry Trotz has purchased a home in Nashville.
I saw that too.
Ooh.
Now there are such thing as
vacation homes.
Summer homes, and trust me, Nashville's a lot more exciting than Winnipeg, right? So, and you know what I feel about that place. But does that mean that he wants to take the year off? It better not.
Do I not get a payout if he takes the year off? Like, what happens there?
Yeah,
it would probably be a no bet. I'm guessing. Yeah, so you get your refund. But you know what? In the meantime, I know Steve likes to do a lot of reading. I'm going to be doing some reading myself.
Oh, I love it.
That's a great book.
It's a fantastic book if you haven't seen it out there. And don't sleep on the White Dog, as you know, Steve, because he's my MVP as well.
Big fan of the Purple Cat.
Yeah.
I like the Purple Cat. He's very silly
For everybody listening,
It's brown bear, brown bear. What do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yeah, and then at the end there's teacher. What do you see? And then the teacher sees a bunch of students. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
Exactly.
Twist ending. M. Night Shyamalan-esque. Yeah. Anyway, so hey Dave, thanks so
Spoiler
much.
alert.
Sorry, I wrecked the book for everybody.
Yeah. Thanks. I was going to read that.
Dave, thank you so much. As always, you can go to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN for these and other fantastic bets. Dave, we appreciate it. And we will see you Friday, sir.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
We got to talk about Muskoka Brewery's Tread Lightly. You know, you make that noise. Why do you make that noise?
Because it's delicious.
It's delicious. It is.
Not a
Tread Lightly. If you're a craft beer enthusiast,
You knew what it meant.
it's a light choice. 110 calories per 355 milliliter can. No sacrifice on flavor. Like all of Muskoka Brewery's beer, Tread Lightly is proudly crafted in Muskoka with all natural ingredients. Light beer, full flavor. That's what you want, right?
what's the percentage?
the percentage?
Oh, that's my percentage.
Why is that your percentage?
That's the beer I love when it's in that 4% range.
Okay.
You see how Adam looked down to read, and I was like, based on experience, 4.
Find Muskoka Brewery's Tread Lightly Lager at your local LCBO or beer store, and you get $1 off of a 6-pack of Tall Boys now through June 19th. And they say it pairs very well with a fresh salsa or guacamole and chips. Anything from the grill.
It does. It also pairs well with just wanting a beer.
Place your Stanley Cup bets with Sports Interaction.
Is that how they told you?
That's that. They said shake the interaction around a little bit. Interaction. Obviously, before the game starts, live in play, which I have seen Jesse do.
Oh,
And you can, obviously look at how your favorite players are going to perform. They have a ton of head-to-heads. We talked a little bit about it in the episode. Head-to-head matchups are very, very interesting and super even. Doing it right since 1997. Canada's sportsbook is Sports Interaction with the most competitive odds. Sports or Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly.
I'm waiting on my Barry Trotz bet to pay out. I got the Jets.
Did you actually do it?
I got the Jets.
Oh,
I hope it pays out, baby.
Dave Bastel's like somewhere he's listening to this going, yeah.
see, I want it for Dave, but I also don't want it for Jesse.
Hey.
Now listen, we don't bounce back the way that we used to when we were drinking.
No.
It's not the same. Z-Biotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic, the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted to a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that is to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It is designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it the most. So here's what you need to do. Try Z-Biotics, and you can do this yourself. Go to zbiotics.com, and the promo code is STP. Get 15% off your first order. And you got to use that promo code STP at checkout. So it's Z-Biotics. It's backed by 100% money back guarantee. And if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Again, it's zbiotics.com/STP. Use the promo code SDP for 15% off at checkout. So John Gibson has not asked for a trade.
Says his agent who has never lied.
No, well, John also said that he hadn't too. Here's the thing. Nick Alberga didn't tweet that that John Gibson asked for a trade. He said this, belief out of Anaheim is that he's informed the club that he's open to being dealt. And here's what Gibson said, or Kurt Overhart said, all the rumors that I got yesterday, John said this, all the rumors I got yesterday, and I got a call from Kurt yesterday because I haven't had a conversation with anybody there. None of that is true. Gibson lives in Pittsburgh in the offseason, so all the Pens fans were like, ooh, cool. He said, no, I want to win in Anaheim. I'm happy here, I've been here, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's much of anything.
Yeah.
Really? Like, I know that's not very yes and of me.
But he didn't. But the only thing that he and Kurt Overhart said here was he didn't ask for a trade, which, to be fair to Nick Alberga, he didn't say that he asked for a trade. He said he's open to accepting one if the Ducks want to trade him.
Yeah. And it seems Listen, I don't know if John Gibson's timeline matches the Ducks. I don't
think it does.
I think they're gonna be good eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It's teams often get good quicker than we anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
There are outliers. The Ducks could be one of those teams that gets good real quick, but it's not lining up right now. And like the Ducks were bad, like so bad that they finished where they finished despite having actually a really good start, like a really good first quarter of the season or so. I don't know if it lines up, man. I don't know if it lines up.
Well, and he's halfway through this 8-year extension that he signed. A lot of people with stats yesterday and the day before, once this tweet was posted, saying, "Wow, he's just not the goalie he was anymore." Whatever. I don't think that we have a fair representation of John Gibson right now. A, because the team sucks. B, because he's had injuries.
I've seen like advanced goalie statistics that say he's not very good, and I've seen advanced goalie statistics that suggest he is an outlier in terms of how good he is.
So whether or not it's the Leafs, right? Yes, but goaltending is always risky.
Yeah,
and here's the thing: would I rather take a swing at John Gibson's skills than Peter Mrazek's skills at 60% of the like Peter Mrazek costs 60% of what John Gibson does, and everybody's cool. We'll take a swing at that. It's only 3 years, whatever. John Gibson's like what, 4 more years at 6.5. It's not great, but if you don't have any other options and your timeline is now, the Leafs are among the teams, Edmonton's among the teams, you need a goalie.
Whoever needs a goalie.
Who has been elite in the past, it's a guy you try to take maybe a swing at.
I absolutely hate the contract and I would avoid it at all costs. It's 5 years, $6.4 million for a 28-year-old who you're unsure
5 years
of.
remaining?
5 years remaining at 6.4.
It's a tough contract.
That's a long time to be locked in and giving up assets to go get the 28-year-old.
I don't think you're giving up much to go get him. I don't think it costs you much.
But that's a deal there where it's like, okay, you're a GM and you're swinging. That deal could be on the resume where it's like when we're pulling your firing list, hey, we're checking off you went and got John Gibson, and now he's stuck here for another 3 years in his 30s.
So
bare minimum.
And he's not a starting
So
goaltender.
one name that's come up in association with the Leafs, and it was one Christopher Johnston who brought it up, is Matt Murray. Now here's a contract you'll hate.
Yeah, I did see that.
$6.25 million the next 2 years.
Yeah,
each year.
No.
I think he's getting bought out.
I think he is too.
Yeah. That's a league min goalie who takes a flyer after he gets bought out, right?
Can you buy him out on Cap Friendly?
Let's do it.
I just want to see how it goes. Like, listen, would Matt Murray becoming a decent to good NHL goalie consistently again surprise me? Not in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
Goalies are silly geese. Every one of them, to a man or woman. All of them are absolutely ridiculous human beings in terms of who they are and in terms of how they play. So it wouldn't shock me at all, but I'm not taking that contract for anything. And that doesn't look very good at all.
You want to buy out Matt Murray?
Yeah.
So Matt Murray, if the Ottawa Senators bought out his contract for the next 4 years, these are the cap hits. 22-23, 1.75, following year 750, following year 2.5 million, following year 2.5 million.
Right when you're hoping it'll get good.
Sens get good. Yeah.
Do you want that 2.5 million on the books for those 2 years is the big deal.
That's such a... Because I was looking at the first 2 years, I'm like, you can do that. You can do that, but, you know, are the Sens ever going to be a cap team even when they are good? The cap would hopefully go up by approximately 2.5 by then, especially, 4 years from now, it may not even really be that big of a factor. I think it's probably worth it for them to do. Oh, that's
especially because the cap hit for the next 2 years is 6.25 million. Like you like the 2.5 more, right?
Yeah, but also like, why not just hold on to them if you're the Sens? Like, how close are they? Are they above the floor at the moment?
If you got to reach the floor, yeah.
I don't know. They're such a hard team to predict.
Maybe just hang on to them because you're going to have the cap space. Like if you don't need the cap space, just hang on to them.
Which they don't need.
Well, that's good news. So this is all good news. Holding on to them is easy for them to do.
Yep.
Buying him out is easy for them to do. All of this is good news if you're an Ottawa Senators fan. It's if they hold on to him, like a lot of sense. But we don't. You're under no obligation to play him.
Right.
You're under no obligation to even have him as your backup.
They didn't last year.
No,
They didn't play him.
you could have a tandem of Forsberg Murray. You could, and it could work.
Forsberg was
know.
fantastic.
He was fantastic.
He was a great
waiver
goalie.
claim. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and like he was coming up on UFA status, and they went out and they gave him the money.
Give him a good deal.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
deal, I think, for both parties.
I wondered how bad his injury is too, Matt Murray. Like, is he an IR forever guy?
I don't know.
Because then that contract actually maybe becomes valuable again. You trade that to a cap team like Vegas, who needs to go over. If that's an IR forever, if he's never playing again, that I mean, I listen. I'm not wishing that on them, but
No,
I
of
think
course
it's certainly.
No, but
Then he's Ben Bishop.
you shouldn't
Yeah.
have to say that. You shouldn't have to say that. Yes, exactly.
I
You
don't. I
shouldn't
should have to
say
qualify that statement, but you know how some people are.
Yeah, but because of that thing that happens all the fucking time, right?
Right.
Like Ben Bishop is, his contract. Kevin Weeks, when he announced that trade, he did not say Ben Bishop was traded to Buffalo. He said Ben Bishop's contract, and you know why? Because he doesn't fucking play.
In the next couple of days, apparently Mike Smith's going to make a decision, and it's leaning towards retirement or IR.
Ooh,
IR. Well, I guess it wouldn't. Either way,
LTIR, just forever.
that is a
For the next year.
strange one, because Mike Smith. I just watched him play I just watched him play 3 rounds of Stanley Cup playoff hockey.
Yeah.
IR for what?
He has something. Everybody's got
Oh, yeah.
something.
Everyone's got something.
And he's
but,
40, but
yeah.
like I would also say that
They didn't
IR
let Luongo get away with it.
is the IR so that he gets paid his last $1 million.
Yeah, it's just so the contract, he still gets it, Because
Okay.
if he retires, he doesn't get the contract, right?
Yeah.
Can I see Mike Smith's contract?
Sure.
Because I think I'm about to have a problem.
It's also, like, I shouldn't say if he retires, he doesn't get the contract, and, like, he's only going on IR so he gets paid. No, if he goes on LTIR, it's because he has an injury.
Yes,
because
but he could easily
check on
retire.
Okay.
Okay, I guess he's got the
those.
injury.
They
Yeah.
check on those now that GMs have, like, complained about it.
the Lou rule.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
that GMs have complained about it, there's a thing.
Sorry.
What's wrong, Steve?
Oh, that's interesting. So this is the opposite of what I thought was the case. So Mike Smith in actual cash this year made 1.9. Next year he makes 2.5. So he'd be walking away from $2.5 million. What I thought might be the case, and there's probably things in the CBA I don't know about that protect from this, but like what's stopping a team from going, all right, Mike, here's the deal. It gives you 2.2 against the cap. We're going to give you 2.5 in year 1 and 1.9 in year 2. Year 2, he retires. So they give him 2.5 million for a 2.2 million season, and it's cap circumvention, right? You're saving $300,000 against the cap. Just arbitrarily because...
But in your fake scenario, you're agreeing with this guy that he'd retire next year?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I don't think
stuff.
hockey players know when they're going to retire. I think a
No,
lot
not
of that
necessarily.
comes
Sometimes
up.
it's foisted upon them.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes
No,
it
but
comes on
nobody
like
in
the end of
particular-
the season.
You
that
can
sort of
give
stuff.
you can give a player a contract that incentivizes retiring at a certain time. Marion Hossa.
It's true.
Duncan Keith.
All those
Backdiving deals. Yeah.
backdiving 8+ year contracts, they all incentivize retiring early.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Right. So, but that is not what Ken Holland did. So if Mike Smith walks away, he's walking away from significantly more money than he made this season. So if he walks away, he's walking away for a reason.
So maybe that's why he LTIRs it.
Yeah, my favorite one is the Crosby deal. Crosby signed one of the illegal contracts.
It's
'cause
10 years, isn't it?
he signed it way back when. It's 12 years.
Oh.
In Crosby's first 3 seasons of the deal, he made $12 million, $12 million, $12 million. This is his cash salary. In his last 3 years of the deal, he makes $3 million, $3 million, and $3 million.
And that's unreal. That's unreal.
Yeah.
And like,
He has one of the last illegal contracts.
Wow. I miss the illegal contracts. They used to make a cap friendly so fun because it's like, wait a second, these are the rules. But these 7 players have contracts that circumvented the rules, and that was pre-lockout, and we have to take that into account. It was really difficult to talk about hockey.
Well, yes, it was. And oh man, how do the Blackhawks do it? Well, they have 2 contracts that are currently illegal. That's how.
Yeah.
They're just, man, how are they able to afford this guy and that guy and that guy? Duncan Keith is an $8 million defenseman making 5.2. And Marian Hossa is like a $7-8 million forward making 5 point whatever. And it's all a sham.
It's weird how you do that.
Crosby's a little different because his cap is just 8.7 throughout. Yeah. But the cash is funny cash.
It's funny cash because it's funny because Sidney Crosby is maybe the only player that I can think of who signed an illegal contract, like a contract that's over 8 years, who will probably sign another one.
Who's not retiring at the end of that deal.
And you know what? You could argue that more than any of them, he's lived up to it.
Oh my.
That's the best value.
So Ryan Suter and Zach Parise are asterisk exceptions to that because they got bought out.
Right, but those were also illegal because they're over 8 years. Right?
So okay,
well they signed right before the lockout, so it wasn't illegal.
Suter's contract didn't make it to the end. Parise's contract didn't make it to the end. Duncan Keith, we'll see. Marian Hossa's contract didn't make it to the end. It doesn't look like Shea Weber's contract is going to make it to the end. And I want to say Datsuk and Sederberg are one of them.
Ovi's extension.
His was 10 years, 9.5.
So that's illegal because 10.
But he made it to the end of it.
Oh, yeah. And he has another one.
And he currently has another one. So he's the only one I can think of who signed a contract longer than 8 years, who played to sign another deal. Crosby hasn't done it yet.
It's crazy that he's already completed the contract and he's on to the next contract.
It's time.
The man's incredible.
He signed long term before anyone else did. And I remember hearing the argument against that because what's Crosby's second contract?
Ovi, by the way, signed in January of 2008. He signed his 13-year deal.
And he lived up to it.
So he signed a 13-year deal out of his entry-level contract. Sidney Crosby didn't do that.
Crosby's second deal. Oh, sorry. Let me do this one more time.
He signed a shorter deal like Matthews did.
13-year contract.
Yeah. And he lived up to it. And it was worth every penny. And he got 5 years more?
He got an extension on a 13-year deal.
This is why you spend the big money on big players.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. So Crosby's deal, his first deal is entry level, 3 years obviously, and his second deal was 5 years, 8.7 throughout, and that lasted until 2012, 2013, and then the 2012 off season he signed his 12-year. So he did that.
What's his cap at now?
8.7.
It's still 8.7.
He never moved off of his second contract.
That's the thing you can do with a bread sponsorship.
Crosby's been $8.7 million against the cap since 2008, and he's never moved up or down from that number. 8.7.
So the older he gets, the more he helps Pittsburgh.
It's disgusting.
That's nuts. That's great. I love that.
He's one of the best players on earth still, and he makes $3 million.
Do the Leafs thing. Do the angry Leafs fan.
What?
What about our guys taking Austin?
Oh, Austin! He's gonna leave for Arizona. I'm gonna be so upset about that.
What if he should have taken? He
should have taken $3.4 million if he wanted his jersey number in it so badly, and if he was serious about winning, which he's not.
Steve, is this why the Leafs can't win? Because players like Crosby are taking 8.7, and Austin is greedy.
Yeah. That's 1,000% why. Sorry, boys, I left my reflective sunglasses at home. But I have strong opinions about this. And you'll notice, Matthews, he's not Canadian. William Nylander, he's not Canadian. I don't care what his birth certificate says. All right? Jack Campbell, not Canadian. Morgan Riley.
Mitch Marner?
No, yeah, but Mitch Marner, he's little, and Morgan Riley's from BC, which is far away from me, so he doesn't count.
Mitch Marner little?
He's little.
Thornhill doesn't count as Canada.
He's little. Sorry, is he taller than I thought? I can't tell. I don't usually see the world through not my reflective sunglasses.
Isn't Mitch Marner 6 feet tall?
He is. Yeah, he is.
No,
Like,
he's little.
people are like little Mitch Marner. I'm like, he's 6 feet. That's
he's
pretty tall.
Slender.
Yes.
You mean he's fast? Not every fast guy is Martin St. Louis.
He's one of the best players in the league at avoiding getting rocked.
Yeah.
He got hit good once against Tampa. Once.
This is why we can't win.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I would love to know.
Can't wait for that to be clipped.
Seriously.
And no context of me doing a character.
John
at
Tavares.
all.
You know.
It's John's. No.
What
would've
would
taken
be
8
No, because he's not a Canadian. He's a snake. He's not even a person. He's a snake.
He's another animal.
He's an animal. And that animal is a snake.
Is there a way to find out what Sidney Crosby's $8.7 million was as a percentage of the cap
Yeah, I can tell you right
when
now.
he was signed back when he signed?
Yeah,
it for
17.3.
17% of the cap,
Which
that's a lot.
I think
back
that's
in the
higher
day.
than Matthews.
Oh my god, it's astronomically higher, isn't it? Isn't Matthews like 12?
No.
I'll be like 15.
I'll tell you right now,
15.
I'm very wrong about it, and I will correct myself.
Well, I can't wait for you to get tweets about it.
Sidney Crosby at the time of his signing was 17.3% of the cap. Austin Matthews at the time of his signing was 14.6. I wasn't that off.
What about Connor?
That's significantly off.
What about Connor?
Connor McDavid
up
percentage
there.
against the cap.
12.5.
So what did I just say for Austin?
12.
14? Austin was 14.6. Connor McDavid is 16.6.
So Crosby was higher as a percentage of the cap than all of them.
Still not as high as Crosby. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the matching Kane and Taves contracts were mind blowing at the time because I think they were the first double digit cap era players.
They were.
Cap era players.
Yeah. And there was 2 of them.
2 of them on the same team.
And one of them definitely should have got it, and one of them definitely shouldn't have.
You're forgetting how
I'm
weird John
kidding.
Taves
Don't-
used to be.
Oh my God!
Don't take away
Hey, to make a
2012.
joke. Definitely debate me on
You
my
know what?
joke, guys. I hope you debate me on my joke.
It's because he's from Winnipeg.
It is
right. I
It
see
is.
the stink you
That's
give
for Dave Bastel,
Bastel.
actually. Yeah,
Piece of shit.
I know. I want to also talk about this. The Vegas Golden Knights have hired Bruce Cassidy. Although you have to think their initial target was Barry Trotz. Cassidy became available. Pretty attractive coach. It's wild down there in Vegas.
They fall ass backwards into everything. It's unbelievable.
It's a great coach to pick up.
Extremely. They're the best move they'll make this offseason. Bar none. Bar none.
What?
Vegas.
You
You think they're going to make a better move than picking up Bruce Cassidy?
I think they're going to make a splash.
What?
Oh, they'll
I
make
mean, they're Vegas. They always make a splash.
But they got Jack Eichel. Like, what do you need to do?
They're going to trade Dodonov to the Ducks.
Yeah.
For Gibson.
What a brilliant
For Gibson.
fucking idea. What a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Wow, Steve.
I'm glad you came
I
up
wish,
with it.
I wish I had a thought of it.
You're just,
I had a thunk it. It was foolproof. Who could say no to
I
that?
bet they're going to trade him to the team they're not allowed to trade him to.
The Flyers.
I bet no one gave you shit for that.
I don't know.
No one,
I don't know.
no one brought it up.
I don't know.
Fuck you for not being perfect.
I know, right?
All right? You
I'm
give
not-
us anything less than 11 out of 10, you can frig off.
What? It does. My take last episode fit quite. What was the T-shirt you kept mentioning?
Oh, true classic.
It fit like a true classic T-shirt.
my mentions are just flooded with people like, thanks, asshole. Now my algorithm's giving me true classic.
Flyers apparently have offered Torts their head coaching position. I don't know as of right now if it's actually sealed, but that's been the offer. They're going to meet Thursday, which is tomorrow, and I guess that will be the official offer will come then.
Can you count me among the very, very, very few people in hockey that thinks this might actually kind of work?
Well, he's good about getting blood from stone. Like he takes chaos and organizes it.
The Canucks, that was an outlier. Like, as long as we understand that it was an outlier,
And it was a bad fit.
it was a
Like
terrible
if you're asking the Sedins to block pucks in in game 32 of the season, it's not a good fit.
It's also a cultural poor fit.
Yes,
I don't think John Tortorella when I think of Vancouver, British Columbia.
but
I definitely think John Tortorella when I think of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Philadelphia fans, people in the outlying area. Come on.
now
You get it.
I will say this: Columbus fans on John Tortorella is not a bad coach. He's got some old, crusty ideas.
Listen,
Doesn't like Zegras doing the Michigan, which is ridiculous. But none of the players on the Flyers can do it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
they're going to be the first team to do it.
I hope they are,
and it's
but
going to
they
be
won't.
hilarious.
I can't imagine that the Flyers are going to do that. What I do think is going to happen is it's going to make the Flyers the most interesting storyline in the first 20 games. I want to see what the hell is going on with the Flyers, because if it's really great, which in the NHL it often is, teams that you think are going to suck are awesome, and you're like, how did that happen? We don't know. It's hockey. I think it's going to be a better story if they start winning. It's going to be a way better story than if they're trash.
Well, it's going to be very interesting because we know John Tortorella has no tolerance for bad goaltending.
Oh,
He has consistently had great goaltending over his career, and when he does, he gets results. Nikolai Habibulin, the second he's replaced by John Graham, oh fuck, that went downhill.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. I don't remember.
That's
it was
bad,
a very long time ago.
Weird. Okay.
He had Henrik Lundqvist for a time. He had Elvis Merzlikins and Jonas Korpisalo playing their brains out. In Vancouver, he didn't handle Eddie Lack and Roberto Luongo very well. That's the outlier, right? So now he's got Martin Jones and Carter Hart, and a lot of you are going to be licking your chops at what a disaster that could be. Those are also both goalies who have played well in the past.
I don't know has Martin Jones ever played well?
Yeah, when he was with the Kings.
Martin Jones won't be back with the team.
No,
he's a UFA.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought he was multi-year.
No, he's a UFA.
All right. Well, it's Carter Hart and someone else.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Ivan Fedotov. Does that name ring a bell?
Man, Russia's been a goalie factory in recent years.
Yeah.
They've produced quite a few.
They got Carter Hart and somebody.
I'm fascinated to see. Like, that's we think of, he's a hard ass, he's crusty, he squeezes blood from a stone. A lot of John Tortorella teams are defined by their goaltending, which is why Philadelphia is such an interesting.
What about a John Gibson Philadelphia trade?
Now we're talking.
Let's get crazy.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Now, see, that
Evgeny
might
Dadonov
happen.
and John Gibson to the Philadelphia Flyers.
That might happen because Chuck Fletcher is a maniac.
He's wild.
And has made no good deals ever. Like, do we count any good deals by Chuck Fletcher?
We should do a deep dive one day. Not now.
So I can see him signing up for 5 years of John Gibson.
Is there a GM history part of Cap Friendly?
Yeah, no, GM trade tracker.
NHL trade tracker.
NHL trade tracker, sorry.
By the way, shout out to the guys from Cap Friendly who are going to come to our event in Montreal.
Yes.
Cap Friendly also has a section when you click the GM's name, you can see all of their signings ever.
Oh,
So,
great.
yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, it was nice to know that the Cap Friendly guys are coming. That's so cool.
I think John Tortorella could work.
I think no matter what, Steve, it's going to be fun. And that's really all that matters. Now,
Cam Atkinson. No.
I just tried to get away from him.
Is Owen Tippett going to do a Michigan day one?
He better.
He better. Yeah.
Oh, and sorry, the other thing I wanted to say about John Tortorella. Listen, I hated his take on the Trevor Zegras Michigan goal or the Dishigan. You better be grateful that your favorite coach doesn't have a job on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, did we ever get a lot of response to the Kako scratching last episode?
I guarantee you, your favorite coach, no matter who that coach is, thinks some genuinely stupid shit.
Yeah.
And you're lucky they don't have a microphone in front of them.
And with the Gerard Gallant thing, Gerard Gallant, who is most of the time a pretty damn good coach.
Indefensible decision.
Yes.
Indefensible. Okay, here's second overall pick. The sky is the limit. Guy on the back nine of his career, busted pelvis. I can't decide. You know what? Yes, I can. Busted pelvis.
Right.
One of the best coaches in the league. No one denies it. He went with busted pelvis guy. They're all out of their minds. All of them. All of them. John Tortorella just lets his mouth express it more than your favorite coach. They're all wild men. We gave Sheldon Keefe a camera and a microphone once, and he told his goalie coach to fuck off. I'm just saying.
I didn't hate the Friedman and Merrick argument that you got to trust the coach who brought you there eventually. You know, like Gallant.
That doesn't make him infallible. I hate that argument.
He got them to the third round. There needs to be at least a little bit of trust in the process of how they got there.
The smartest people in the world make tons of mistakes where you could say, it's like, you literally, he's the smartest person in the world. The smartest person in the world. Nobody can question them. No, that's not how it works.
Not how it works.
This is a team. There's multiple coaches. There's multiple players. There's multiple general managers. We have assistant general manager to the assistant general manager. There are a lot of people. And if you allow a decision like that to happen, yes, Gerard Gallant, well, you got to trust him because he got you there. Yes, because of the play style, not because he picked a guy that's on the back nine of his career with the
Don't say Strome is on the back nine.
I said it.
Okay.
You just gave him the comment section treatment. you criticized him
you're
for
an
something
idiot.
that I said
Adam said those words
after I did.
Yeah, so he mirrored you.
I mirrored him.
Both of you don't say that. That's disrespectful.
Listen, okay, well, listen.
Strome will get a nice deal.
He did. And he, you know what? He had a good year this year. He did. But like hurt pelvis, just not a thing. It's not like he's got a bruised shoulder.
You ever seen what's connected to your pelvis? You need it. There's all sorts of
all
stuff.
of it. You need all of it.
All of it
to play hockey.
All of it. Hockey should be called. No, Merrick's wrong. It shouldn't be called goalie. It should be called pelvis.
I think there's also merit in like the guy scored 20 goals, 50 points. He's your assistant captain.
Are we talking about Ryan Strome?
Yes.
He's your assistant captain with what?
Let me ask you this.
50 points.
I don't agree with the scratch. We don't need to relitigate.
I'm going to put it in terms Jesse can understand.
arguing.
Okay. So Jesse, okay. So
I
here,
dumbass.
I couldn't understand the
here's
terms we
what
were
we
talking
got.
about. The guy getting
sorry.
scratched.
Not terms of no. I was just trying to make a funny.
No. Apparently, I don't understand what it means for somebody to be scratched.
Adam, tell this idiot.
Yeah,
dumbass.
tell me, huh? Why don't you wild splain this to me?
Blake.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get what it means for a guy to be scratched in the playoffs, huh?
So you got this cool Honda Civic, right?
That's a car, by the way.
Honda Civic.
yeah.
It can be upgraded. Sky's the limit. You can make those things go as fast as you want. It's awesome, right?
Vroom, vroom,
right?
Mazda.
It's brand new. It's brand
That's
new.
the sound a car makes.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
then you got a Formula One car. And the Formula
That's
One
cool.
car is undoubtedly faster and potentially more reliable, but the axle's broken.
Yeah.
How much difference is there?
That's the same thing. No.
literally talking- your pelvis is your body axle.
An axle being broken on a car is the same thing.
It is. It's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's your body. Your pelvis is your body axle. It connects it connects your hands. It connects your feet. Think about it.
You know what? I get it now.
Okay.
You should have played Kako.
See?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it works.
Wow.
It
11
works.
out of 10.
What a
11 out of
miracle
10.
worker.
Yeah, it's
By the way,
amazing.
I always agreed that they should have played Kako. I'm just making the defense.
I know.
I understand what Gallant's thinking. That's all I'm trying to say. I get the logic. I think he made the wrong decision, but I get where the logic came from.
Oh, yeah. I get where the logic came from.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of arguments that I believed in passionately they're all based on logic. Believe it or not, I think my shitty opinion through. But in the end, I come to the conclusion, that was a shitty opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think Gerard Gallant had that. I'd do it again. And I don't think most NHL coaches have that. They're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'd do it. You know what? Let it ride. I'll get him next time.
Are the Blackhawks bad? Are the Blackhawks bad?
Just flat out, that's it.
That's the question.
Yes.
Are the Blackhawks bad enough to get better?
Interesting question. I think yes. They don't.
So the Leafs, if you remember, after the lockout in 2005, 2006, or no, 0405,
yeah.
when they came back, they were a middling team. They were a perennial 20th place finisher. So it was not high enough to get the high draft picks that they needed. Also, they sucked at drafting and a whole bunch of other things.
And had no picks.
But it wasn't, so they weren't good enough to make the playoffs, but they weren't bad enough to really improve their team quickly. And if you look at the way the Leafs turn things around, yes, I understand they haven't made it out of the first round. I get it. Believe me, I live it. But they turn that.
When people tell us that like it's new.
They turn that ship around mighty quick, right?
Yeah.
Couple bad years, especially one where they really fell off, and then a tank year that actually turned out to be not so bad, and then Austin Matthews, and here we go. So Scott Powers from The Athletic, who is a Blackhawks reporter, said Alex DeBrincat will probably on the move. And here's why. Because listen, this guy's like a 30 or 40 goal scorer, right? But he says in this article, Alex DeBrincat actually hurts them. He can individually change a game's result. DeBrincat and Kane together have altered their share of results in recent years. The truth is, the Blackhawks are concerned they're too good to tank right now. There would be little purpose to this season if the Blackhawks ended up as the 6th worst team. The rebuild won't likely accelerate. The rebuild won't accelerate unless the Blackhawks can draft a superstar with an early pick in 2023. So from a cap, and obviously there's a whole article surrounding this, so please don't take that one thing and go, Scott Powers, idiot. I don't necessarily disagree in the sense that, I mean, first off, we know from the Leafs rebuild, you have to have some good players left. You look at how the Sabres tried to rebuild, they had nobody, and they signed some ridiculous deals. Ottawa had nobody left. And you're seeing young players really struggle. You're seeing some breakout, but it takes longer. You need some veteran presence. DeBrincat could give them that. Mm-hmm. But is he Brindacat. But is he too good for them to finish bottom 5?
Here's
with
the thought.
With Kane.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, they were probably close.
They were probably close.
I don't know what the standings are.
Or is it the fact that you can move him now because he's a 30 to 40 goal scorer and he can get you a ton of assets where in 3 to 4 years when you expect to be good again?
You know who you can move? Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. Like what the here's what I don't understand about what the Chicago Blackhawks are doing is if they chose to full tear it down rebuild, they could have a greatly accelerated rebuild if they wanted to. But like he's still his contract's up, I think, at the end of the year, and he's still gonna be an RFA. They just traded prospects and picks for Seth Jones. That happened a year ago,
under a different general manager,
and then things played out,
and they were garbage.
That it wasn't the case.
But they had a 23-year-old Brandon Hagel and a 24-year-old Alex DeBrincat. That should be the rock that you rebuild the Chicago Blackhawks on, and you're trading them both away? Connor Bedard must be really fucking good. Like that doesn't make any sense.
I think the DeBrincat deal, like I thought what Scott Powers was writing there, that was the name, right?
Scott Powers.
I think that logically, I think it's all there because so this offseason, DeBrincat's due for the Giant extension. Like this is the offseason where you sign all those deals we were just talking about with Crosby and Matthews and Ovi. This is DeBrincat's offseason where he gets that 8-year deal, whole bunch of $8-9 million. If you're not going to sign him to that deal, you move him for the assets.
Here's what he says later on in the article. At the end of the rebuild, Jesse, to your point, the Blackhawks will undoubtedly be looking for someone like DeBrincat. Why not keep him now and still have him if he's willing to sign an extension? Aside from the previous points, the Blackhawks are viewing it as more as where DeBrincat will be then as a player. So he's 24 now. When the rebuild is over, he could be 28 or 29 and might need then another contract. Whereas you could take because really you're trading current wins, something that Ian Tulloch had to explain to me in my dumb brain way back in the day. Current wins for future wins.
Yeah.
And that's what if you move that timeline back, he's 24.
Oh, I get it.
And then you get a 18-year-old. 4 years from now, he's 22.
And if you can't sign that extension, if this extension if the end of the extension or wherever he's peaking doesn't line up with your current timeline, then you move him. You move him for the assets to where you get the players who line up with your current rebuild.
Oh, man. I guess.
The logic's there.
The logic is there, but first of all, the Seth Jones move, yes, different general manager. What a disaster.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah,
what an absolute
You got to get off of it.
You do got to, well, get off of what?
The deal. The player. If that's what you want to do.
Man. Like, there were whispers about...
They did it with Fleury.
There were whispers about how good Stan Bowman did with his apology, with the investigation and everything, but there was plenty of reason to fire him for hockey reasons. Let this add to the list of reasons why he shouldn't be an NHL GM anytime soon. He did a terrible job. He did a terrible job with a team he didn't build. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's got the rings and everything, and yeah, you know, he built around the margins for I can't remember exactly when he joined the team or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to take away that part of the job he did, but over the last few years, he did extraordinary damage to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep. Yes, he did. Starting with Panarin and Saad.
Oh, and now they're going like completely in the opposite direction to what they did 11 months ago? 10?
Less. Yeah.
Oof.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes.
That's a real tough one to wear.
And the problem is that it's going to be painful because Kane and Taves were expecting to be here their whole careers. Now it's looking like they won't. Can you trade them? Will they let you? Or are they just going to walk to UFA?
I think losing is killing Jonathan Taves inside. Like, he's so outwardly furious with the direction of the team.
Well, he probably agrees with you. He thinks probably a terrible job has been done.
Yeah. No, I know he agrees with me. So I think he might be the first one to go. But that's definitely the harder deal to make.
If I'm GM of the Blackhawks, I sign that DeBrincat deal, and I work towards the 2023 season. So not this season, next season, coming back as like we're contending again.
2023, how?
The Taves and Kane contracts.
Well, you got $20 million.
More than $20 million in two players coming off the books. That's enough where if you move assets and you take this whole year to just fulfill for the next following season and build towards that should be enough room and enough pieces that you can build a good team, at least a contending team around DeBrincat, around Seth Jones, around the pieces that you got there right now.
Yeah, like
you need a goalie.
I'm anti the Blackhawks tearing the whole thing down. Like, because like, again, I don't like what they've done, but they have parts.
Yeah, that's enough. We've seen,
and they're going to need a goalie.
Teams with lesser stuff succeed with more.
When the Leafs
I said that backwards.
Yeah.
When the Leafs fully tore it down, they didn't really have, like, their best players weren't really worth keeping. You know what I mean? The Phil Kessel timeline made no sense.
God.
This is a dude who's greatly surpassed Phil Kessel's individual numbers at a far younger age, and you're going to trade him for what? I don't understand that.
Okay. And lastly, well, there's a couple other things. First off, I said I should have said this off the beginning of the show, but we have a race car driver joining us at the end of the press conference. So Robert Molloy of the SDPN staff is going to join us for the press conference. After the press conference, as an SDPN extra, I've got Romain Grosjean, formerly of Haas, formerly of Lotus, now of Andretti Motorsport from Indy, coming on to talk about the Toronto Indy and a little bit of F1 too, because he's going to be in Montreal this weekend. But there's a couple more things I want to say. First off, Scott Wheeler, friend of the show, Scott Wheeler, is just announced a new book. Yes. October the 4th. It's on the clock, behind the scenes with the Toronto Maple Leafs at the NHL draft. Available for pre-order, but it will be out October 4th. So we just wanted to say a little congratulations, Scott Wheeler.
Did you see? Well, I know the best part is the
forward.
It's the forward.
By whomst?
Me.
Oh, you wrote a forward.
No, I wrote a forward.
That's pretty neat, man.
Yeah, the first one. I've never done one.
Very, very cool. And lastly, and Jesse has been dying for this because Steve, I know you're a YouTuber.
No, let's do it Friday.
We're going to do it Friday?
Yeah.
We're going to wait?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do it.
This show's too long.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good one.
All right. That's
Also,
a good tease.
You promised the world that you would bring clips from the Live Golf.
I know, I forgot.
You piece of shit.
I can still bring them. It's just an old story now. Figured we'd move on.
I wanted to hear him.
You want to hear him? Okay, all right, fine. I'll look it up. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I want to hear it.
And I got to explain to you how the whole Live Golf thing works too, because it's wild.
I don't think it's going away, so I think it's still relevant.
Yes.
You know?
Okay. Fair enough. And also the press conference is a madhouse. It's wild.
And we're gonna get even more news, I think, because the U.S. Open is starting on Thursday. So all the golfers there are going to be asked about this.
And Mickelson can play at the U.S. Open because it's USGA, not PGA.
We'll see if he shows up. We'll see.
Golf. Golf doesn't make sense. And the rules don't matter. Anyway, let's get to the press conference and Robert. So you're saying it's not okay to mention to your friends that you used high-quality Manscaped products this weekend?
like, are you cutting them off to do it?
Well, no, I think you just bring it up as a topic
I shave my balls.
No, you just
Like,
topic
that'd
of
be weird,
conversation, right? Is it like we should talk about Manscaped?
You know what?
We should talk about the effect that it has, which is, listen, tip to toe. You know what I'm talking about? Tip to toe.
Like,
Manscaped's got you covered.
Why isn't it just more a part of culture?
I don't know. Should be. I mean, you know the promo code is Dangle. You know the shipping is is free, and you know that the discount on your first purchase is 20% off. You know that they've got body wash. You know that they got 2-in-1 shampoo, so you don't have to waste your time conditioning your hair after you shampoo it.
I'm always like, God, this is a waste of time.
Aluminum-free deodorant. They got body spray. They got lip balm, and it's not the shiny lip balm stuff.
It's actually quite nice.
Is it like a lip balm? I haven't used the lip balm yet.
I have.
Well, there you go.
It's good.
All I'm saying is that you need to get your 20% off and your free shipping with the promo code DANGLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code DANGLE, manscaped.com. It's time to get wet and clean with your new Manscaped shower routine. And I used it this weekend and it felt great.
That's great, man.
NAD Plus supplementation is an important part of your health routine as you age. Elysium products help target aging specifically at its source. Like, if you become older, you must yell at the TV screen more, right? That has to happen.
What are you looking at me for?
Well,
They can hear you.
no reason at all. They can hear you.
The TV pictures can hear you.
When you yell shoot from your living room,
I help.
you're helping them
Yes.
shoot.
See, they might actually hear me.
So NAD Plus actually doesn't help with that, but it does help with a bunch of different things. It's NAD Plus is actually found in every single cell of your body. It's responsible for creating energy and regulating hundreds of cell functions, but NAD Plus also declines as you age, leading to things like, I don't know, aging.
Don't scream aging at
and
me.
yelling at the TV screen like Steve does. So,
Why'd
hey,
you
listen,
scream it?
go to trybases.com. The promo code is SDP. And so it's trybases.com/SDP, promo code SDP. And at checkout, you're going to save 10% off Basis, prepaid plans, and other Elysium Health supplements. That's trybases.com/SDP. Use the promo code SDP, save 10%. Thank you, Elysium. In a tiny apartment in Southern California, 2 college dropouts, I can relate to that, I'm one college dropout, teamed up to create a watch company that broke all the rules. Fair prices, unexpected colors, clean and original designs. Movement grew into one of the fastest growing watch brands out there, shipping to 160 countries across the globe. This stuff is high quality, right? These are great watches, unbeatable price point, and I gotta be honest with you, I like the second part, mostly. Is that I'm
What's
cheap.
that?
I like to look good for cheap, okay? Just throwing that out
It's
there.
always the right time.
Trivia.
for that.
Name every country they ship to. All 160.
Oh, okay.
Canada, the United States, Mexico. Don't worry, this ad will be
Steve's
over in a
working
minute.
on that.
England.
If you want to elevate your style
Great
and
Britain,
look
sorry.
that doesn't break the bank, well, listen, Movement will give you 15% off.
Spain.
Free shipping, free returns. Go to movement.com/dangle.
Portugal.
That's mvmt.com/Austria.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
All right, so this is a special press conference because we're bringing on Robert Molloy, who brings so much to the SDPN, and Steve Dangle every single day. And first off, Robert, welcome to the show for the first time.
Yeah. I realized that this is a lot of people's first time like hearing my voice and seeing my face. Like I've been in the end of the LFRs, but that's about it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You were in the...
And you guys, you and Steve met because Robert does a lot for you, Steve, and he started with you. So how did you meet Robert? How did you guys hook up? And then how did this all sort of come together?
Well, Robert knows better than anyone that I don't know the answer to that question.
How did that happen, Robert?
I'll tell you my side, and then I'm very curious what your side is because it's a hilarious story. Steve and I met for the first time in 2019 at your book signing at Young and Dundas, the Indigo one. So we met there. So that happens, and I go, cool, that guy's great. And then I come to the Scotiabank event, and I like wave at all three of you for like 30 seconds because I have to write an exam.
Oh, what Scotiabank event is that?
The one at the movie theater raising money for Easter seals in November.
Video games.
Yeah.
video game one.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that was wild. I forgot we did that.
I think I waved at you, Steve, and then I booked it because I had to write an exam or a midterm 45 minutes later, and I really should not have gone to that event. I had things to do.
You missed me eating a pepper again.
I know you ate it in front of me. You ate it 2 rows in front of me, and I updated. It was really gross.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I didn't like
It was
it.
really awful. So that happens. And then in February 2020, you are on the book tour. And my friend Dua, who is in the sports media program, texts me and goes hey, I'm bringing Steve to Ryerson, or now Toronto Metropolitan University. Show up. And I go, cool. And my friends are you have debate practice at the time of Steve's event. And I go, I'm not coming to debate practice. I'm going to go see Steve.
That was good.
And
That's good. That's good debate practice.
Yeah, my friends were mad at me for missing debate practice, and this story gets funnier from here. So that happens. And so you know of me and you know of my name, and I feel like that probably mattered. So March hits and the pandemic hits, and a week after, you're doing a live stream on YouTube. You're playing Chell with the Navy boys. You had not planned this. You literally were hey, let's play. I found this out from Butter, our friend who plays with you. And you got your chat streamed with sex bots or spam bots.
Yes.
And I do a dumb thing. I send you a super chat. I say, hey, I know how to mod, because I did know how to mod. And you recognized my name and made me a mod. That's how this happened.
Great.
And good, really wonderful thinking.
Good thinking, me.
Good job, Steve.
Yeah.
Good job.
Hooray.
So that happens. And I think to myself, wow, this is great. I'm never going to hear from this man again. And so we do 3 or 4 more live streams. We do the Quarantine Cup, and I go, great, this is a really funny story I'll tell one day. I'm never going to hear from this person again. A month later in May or June, I get a text from you saying, hey, I'm trying to bank some content and don't tell me why. I'm trying to make this series called 70s and 7. Will you cut clips for me of the LFRs? And you're oh, and so I say, sure. And I do that. And I send this, and I keep trying to get feedback from Steve, and he keeps not answering me. And I keep sending feedback, and he's not answering me.
That sounds
And
about right.
No, I'm off.
You have a valid reason. This is right. And then I don't hear from you for 3 days. I send it to you, and then Leo's born.
Oh,
That's right.
Okay, the one time he has an excuse then.
That's
It's
right.
the one
No,
time.
Because 2 weeks before, right before you had mentioned, you texted me because of the Sportsnet stream. You're hey, did anything weird happen on stream tonight? And I put the pieces together. So I found out about Leo in April.
Because Justin Bourne fucked it up.
Oh, right. He sort of gave it away, didn't
He
he?
sort of gave it away, but no one picked it up.
Ooh.
Except, apparently.
I'm the only one who picked it up.
Yeah,
Because
Robert's
I
pretty
went back and listened, and I'm oh. And so I just go, cool, we'll figure this out. And so I get no feedback. And so anyway, 70s and 7 goes up, and I go, cool, great. I'm never going to hear from this person again. And then a month later, you're hey, I need a captioner. And I go, okay. And that's it. That's pretty much it. And then I've been captioning for you ever since.
And moderating every single playoffs. Doesn't Robert do all? Does he do all the moderating for that too?
Well, so all the Twitch streams, and also, you've started
That's-
working for Sportsnet as well, doing
Yeah.
the Watch a Whatever with Steve Dangle.
Yeah, I did captioning for you for a year. I did the whole 2021 season. And then in September 2021, I get a message from Drew, and he's hey, I need a moderator. Do you want to do these streams every Saturday? And I'm I got nothing to do. Sure. And so I've been doing that ever since. So yeah, my technical titles is I'm your SDPN community manager, and I'm a digital media production at Sportsnet.
That's right.
Those are my technical fun titles.
So we share Robert, and Robert, obviously, you do a ton of stuff behind the scenes along with Yams, who is the other community manager for SDPN. You guys run Discord and that sort of thing as well. But you've got a great story yourself, and I thought you had brought it to us and said, hey, I'm willing to talk about this, and so I want to know. Obviously, we'll start with this. You're trans. And
which a lot of people don't know, which is really funny to me, by the way.
Why is that? Why is that funny? Well, now they all do. Why is that funny? I would like to know why.
I just think it's hilarious. I don't know. It's something to do with I don't know, a culture of passing. It's weird to see an openly trans, to see an openly trans person, then to see an openly trans person in sports media. I don't know a lot of trans folks in sports, or if they are, they're very closeted, or they don't want to talk about their experiences. I'm pretty open. You can see my pronouns in my bio. I talk about being trans every day of my life. So it's just always really funny to me when people I get direct messages being you're trans. I'm yes.
and one of the things that one of the things we thought was important, I think, Robert, you would say is important is visibility, right? You wanted to have you on because it is Pride Month, but more than that, it's like you just said, right? It's sort of somebody in sports media who's trans. When do you ever see that, right? And that's weird to say. It's weird to
Very rare.
So can you talk about the timeline of the last few years of your life, specifically your story?
Yeah, how far back do we want to go?
Well, how far back should you take us? You are the leader we are following.
We're going to spark notes this. So I'm going to jump through the whole heckin' timeline because I think it's interesting. And I'll preface with like, my story is different than literally every other trans person's stories. Like I'm here telling mine. Some trans folks don't know they're trans until much later in their life. I knew when I was 6. I've always known. I've known since I was like a little kid. But the problem is I didn't have the words for it. Like I sat and thought about a couple days ago as I'm thinking about this interview. I'm like, I remember being in the 2nd grade and falling in love with a girl, like being in the 2nd grade and being like, I don't want to be her boyfriend. I want to be like a boyfriend. I wanted to have the masculine traits. And that was the first, like, I'm like, oh, and I pushed that away. And like, we come back to that many years later, but we'll like fast forward, I like figure it out. And like, I go through my life, just repress it, like figure it out later. I know I'm either gay or queer or trans or like pansexual, however I want to identify. I know that really young. I don't have the words for it, but I know something's up. I know I'm like not crushing on boys for a reason. There's something there. And so then we jump to like the 9th or 10th grade. We jump into my high school and that's when I found out what the word trans meant. I think I found it out online. Like, I think that's a lot of the ways, like with the digital age, you have access to all this information. I had access to the information. I probably started looking I want to be I probably Googled something along the lines of like, I want to be a boy and I'm a girl. What does this mean? Like, I probably did some type of thing. And so I come out to myself in the 10th grade. And so I know by 10th grade, I don't come out public.
I want to pause you there for a second because just that, how hard is that coming out to yourself?
It was really relieving. I talked to like, if you talk about like anybody getting any type of diagnosis in any type of your life, you're getting a mental health diagnosis, you're getting anything, you're having a doctor be like, hello, it's this. Like when you finally have the words for what the heck's going on in your head, it's quite relieving, at least for me. For a lot of folks, it can be really scary. For me, it's like, oh, wow, I finally have the words for the thing I've been feeling since the 2nd grade. I finally have the words. I like went to bed every night as like a little kid and like cried a couple times because I like woke up not as a boy because I was dreaming of being a boy. Like I didn't have the words for that. You don't have the words for that when you're 6. You don't have the words for that when you're really young. So like finally figuring out the words and like having the access to the knowledge of the words. And I'm like, yeah, so I came out to myself, but consider I came out to myself and didn't come out to anybody else for 2 years. Right. So there's a process in there. The first person I came out to was my high school music teacher. Fun fact, in like the 11th grade, I'm like, hey, I don't think I want to go by that name anymore. And he's like, okay, cool. And that was the acceptance. He's like, okay, cool. I find out later, he asked me a little while later, he's like, can I ask you a bunch of questions? I'm like, you can ask me questions. He wanted to like make sure I'm safe. He wanted to like get to know. And I'm like, here, read this. I like gave him some sources. And so like, he was the first person I ever came out to. So I was like closeted and came out to like maybe 2 people for like a year and a half.
Having teachers like that is so important. I remember our drama teacher was the equivalent kind of to I guess your music teacher, whereas like students trusted him and they could like tell secrets and like those little things. And I feel like we don't emphasize enough how much teachers play a role in the evolution of our young kids, and having that person that you just speak to. Like there's probably so much trust in your music teacher.
Yeah, there was so much love, like being able to have that. Like I know now many years later, like he's this teacher that people come to, like he's got little rainbow stickers on his door and like people know like if something's going on, go talk to him. Like I have a tattoo of his handwriting for a card he sent me. That's what my little Be Inspired tattoo says. That's his handwriting.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. That's where that's what that means. Yeah. We'll jump a little bit because I don't want to like do this story for forever. In the 12th grade, I like come out in like the 2nd semester. I come out to my friends. I come out to my teachers, but I do a thing that I don't recommend, but I know a lot of folks do, is I lived a double life for about 6 months. I was preferred name, preferred pronouns at school, and legal name, legal pronouns at home. I lived that for like 6 months. And I sit and think about like why I did that. I think it's a lot of fear. It's a lot of like, I'm still trying to figure myself out. It's a lot of like, I was afraid. Like I had this irrational fear, like like a lot of queer and trans folks have this like irrational fear. Like, am I going to get kicked out of my house? Am I going to get disowned? My parents had never been openly like any type of transphobic, homophobic, but I had this like fear in my head. I'm like, wow, this is going to go badly. And I like convinced myself it was going to go badly. So instead I made things much more complicated for myself and did a double life. which I don't recommend.
Mm-hmm.
And then like to end kind of like this section of the story, how I came out to my parents, I went to a grocery store with my mother, and the girl cashing me out was like in my English class. And she looks at me and says, "Hi, Rob," in front of like my mom, who's never, heard my legal name like starts with an R. So she probably like could have made some guesses, but like it's a 3-minute drive from my house to this grocery store. It's the most uncomfortable 3 minutes of my entire life.
Because we're both picked up.
Yeah, she picked up and we're both in silence. No, they said, "Hi, Rob." And she just looks at me like, we are having this conversation. The door has opened.
Right.
Right.
And so I get home and I like sob. Like we like burst into tears and I like tell the whole story. And that's how I came out to my parents.
Wow.
Is I like kind of like, I wouldn't call it a forceful coming out. I wouldn't say I was like forced into it. I think it just like, it was coming anyways. We're doing this now.
Robert and I did pre-interview on this because it's an important subject. It's really important to get this right. And Robert, one of the questions I had written down was, when you look at the way gender has changed. So the way we looked at it once was very binary, right? It's male, female. Now it's a spectrum. And it always was a spectrum. We just now it's more generally accepted. And you've done a lot of talks, and you have a crazy resume, right? You've got digital this and whatever. And we were just talking about something else that may come up for you right before we went on the air here. But you also go to workplaces and you give talks on this subject. And I wanted to know how you explain this to people who don't quite understand the concept or who push back on it.
Yeah. So this actually like finishes the rest of our timeline because like, I go to university and I'm like fully out. I go to university and I've never used my legal name and legal pronouns. Like I email every professor I ever have and say, "Hey, this is my name. This is my pronouns." I only ever had like 2 professors be mean to me and I just dropped class. I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah.
And so I do that. I get involved in our equity service center. So I was an equity service center coordinator for 3 years. So I did that. But while I'm doing all of that, I get reached out to by an organization my friends worked with. It's called Canvas Youth Arts Action Program. They're still active. They're wonderful. And I work with them for a while and we end up going to talk. So I'm a performance poet. That's my like other little piece. If you haven't noticed, I do quite a couple things. So we would go to these workplaces and I would go and like talk about gender and talk about identity and like through performance poetry. And it always went well. And sometimes I'd be working with people who are twice my age. And sometimes I'd be working with like little kids. So I think the most interesting way for me to talk about this is to like talk about the little kids stories because they're beautiful little stories. So I did an event at an all-girls private school in Toronto. So I went to this school and I do my performance home and I talk a little bit about gender. I'm like, "Hi, I was born a girl and I identify as a boy now," like that. And I just like basically say that out loud. And so we do this performance home. We talk to them a little bit and then I leave space for questions. Like I let the kids ask questions. And so they ask the like standard questions people ask, like, "How did you know? When did you know? How did your parents react?" Like they ask me those kinds of questions. And they do that for about 10 minutes. And then one kid raises their hand and she goes, "What's your favorite color?" And I answer her. I'm like, "I don't know. I really like lilac." And so that happens. And then like 30 hands shoot up and they all go like, "What's your favorite animal? What do you like to do on the weekends? What's your favorite food?" The barrier was gone. The like talking about gender was gone. They're like, "Yeah, I just want to know what your favorite color is." Like that's the education like we were doing. And we watched that. So were my presentations with like folks who are older than me harder? Yeah, I was always a sit and explain like language is changing every day. People are finding the words to identify themselves now. But I also like sit and think about like the little kids I taught and like how it was erased within like 10 minutes.
Right. Now, as far as hockey culture goes, how included do you personally feel? And again, this is Robert. This is not Robert speaking on behalf of anybody else.
Yeah, I think I can talk for me. Sometimes it feels like, it's better. I agree with a lot of what Harrison said last week of like, it's changing and it's changing for the better. It does feel like pulling teeth every single time though. It still has not gotten past the pulling teeth aspect. It's not an easy. Nothing about anything we do to change hockey culture is easy. So that's the hard part.
Go ahead. Yeah.
If I can follow that up, you ever gotten a message from someone who was like, "Listen, I didn't get it before. I'm really sorry about that. I get it now."
Very rarely. I don't like, I've had people like reach out to me who were mean to me in high school or mean to me in university, reach out and be like, "Hey, by the way, I'm sorry for what I said." A lot of them like come out to me sometimes. They're like, "Hey, I was still figuring myself out and watching you be so open was really exhausting, like was really scary for me, was really like upsetting to me. Like I couldn't be that open, but you could. So it turned into that kind of thing. So it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while.
And what everyday things can we do, not just in hockey, but hockey, this is the context of the show. What everyday things can we do, like small little things that make a huge difference to be good allies and make more room for representation in hockey and in life?
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. It's a lot of small things. It's not necessarily the big things. Like, it's really wonderful when a very large organization donates $250,000 to an organization. That's really wonderful. We use that money and it's able to fund jobs. It's able to fund all these things. So that's always really wonderful. But the most important interactions I have every day is like the interactions I have with everyday people. If I go to an event and the presenter starts with, hey, we're going to do a round of like your name, your pronoun, what's your favorite color? Like, that's a really like, hey, here's that means tells me at least that you've had a little bit of equity training and I can say, hey, my pronouns are he, him. I'm not afraid to say my pronouns in any situation. You can fight me all you want. If we do a go around and no one says their pronouns, I probably will. But like like hearing other folks, like that's always really comforting. I think that's probably the big one. And then like, I don't know, call out your friends. The biggest changes we make are on the culture level or in the conversations we have with our friends, like how the language changes, how we speak to our friends, being like, hey, that sentence wasn't okay. Hey, I know you're trying to be funny, but that wasn't funny. Kind of thing. So that's probably the main ones. It's the same as everything of being a good ally for anybody. It's like calling out your friends and being like, hey, that's not okay. And like learning yourself and finding educational resources, whether they're resources you've been sent to by me or resources you found from like trainings at work or trainings at school. Like there's resources out there to learn. There's always space to learn.
Robert, last question. I think the most important one is, who's your favorite all-time hockey player and why? Think of a full dissertation.
It's Tyler Toffoli. It always will be Tyler Toffoli. I fell in love with him, and I fell in love with him in the Los Angeles Kings run. So my hockey fandom is always the Leafs and wherever Tyler Toffoli goes. Okay. That's always my answer.
The playoffs last year must have been rough for you.
The playoffs this year were rough.
Yeah,
everything sucked. Both times were rough.
Now you can follow him on Twitter at @RS_Molloy. You can find him on Discord. He obviously works part-time with Sportsnet, works with us at SDPN. Robert Molloy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It meant a whole lot to us, and I know that there's a lot of people that will gain a lot from this. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely thrilled to be welcoming Romain Grosjean for the very, very first time ever. Romain, thank you so much for making time for us. Obviously, the Toronto Indy is coming up. And I believe, this will be your first one. Have they said anything about what Toronto's like as a road track to you? Are you starting to do your homework on it? How's that going?
Yeah, well, the first thing that everyone told me about Toronto is that it's one of the best races of the season. So everyone is excited to get back to Canada after quite a long time. I love coming to Canada since my F1 time. I'm actually going this weekend in Montreal for the Formula One race.
You're going to be there. Are you working or are you just going as a fan?
Yeah, I'm working, but I'm also going to enjoy Montreal and downtown and all the stuff and having a nice beer, all the stuff that I couldn't do when I was a racing driver in Formula One. So that's going to be good. And then a few weeks later, we're in Toronto. So all the guys told me it's an amazing. The racetrack, I've been running it on the simulator. It's not easy, definitively, but also which makes it very hard for this year is that we've got no idea how the roads are because no one has been coming for a long time.
Right. Yeah, everybody's going to be a little bit cold on that track for sure. I got to say, I love that you're going to Montreal. Are you working for an English or a French outlet when you go?
No, for French TV.
French TV. Okay. All right. Because I've seen you come up on it. I follow you on Instagram. I'm a bit of a fan. But I'm wondering from your perspective, when you talk about, when you go to a Formula One race now, do you get to really sort of soak in the atmosphere a little bit more than before? Is it what's different about that experience for you?
Well, it is different. I can spend more time in the paddock and chill and talk to people rather than trying to run from meeting to meeting. So it is definitively more cool. Also, I've got some good friends in Montreal that I'm looking forward to see that I haven't seen for a very long time. So in the evening you can enjoy a nice dinner and go to bed a little bit later because you don't really need to be. You still want to be in good shape to come at the Grand Prix, but you don't have to perform physically. Right,
100%. And I'm noticing all your Haas racing in the background and some Lotus in there too, I think. I got to ask you, with the switch, you've worked with some pretty unbelievable names in racing. Gene Haas is one of them. Andretti Motorsport's another. What's it like to be on the team that you're on now and to be racing, with Andretti on the side of the car?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, Mario is one of my idols with Niki Lauda. Back in the days, yes. I love how they were going from Monaco GP straight on a plane to try to do the Indy 500 and then go and do some more races and Le Mans 24 and everything. Everything they could race, they would race it, and I love that. So then obviously Michael has a big career. I think is super successful in Toronto. So I'm going to definitely get some advice from him on the racetrack. But yeah, it's great to be racing with the team. It's such a great organization with such a great, when you have Michael at the top, Mario around, it's just a great place to be.
You got the, and I know you won't, I don't know how you'll respond to this, but you've got the rare thing that people get in sports where they're beloved. Like people just fall in love with Romain Grosjean, and there's so few sports heroes have that. There's people that love them, people that hate them. Everybody loves you, and and I want to know, because you're at the point in your career now where you've done it all. Like what else is there to do? You've done Formula One, you're doing Indy, you can race anywhere you want to. What would you say to a 2009 or a 2008 Romain Grosjean, or even a 2004 Romain Grosjean about your career? What kind of advice would you give a younger you or a younger racer watching this interview right now?
Oh, wow. There's so much that you learn through your career, and you go through so much different phases. For sure, I would love to have the experience that I have today, and the young me from 2008 or 9, the first time I got to Formula One. I would have done things a little bit differently. I would have behaved a little bit differently, understand a little bit more the bigger picture. But you know what? I think I don't have regret for my career. I don't have. There's things that obviously I would have loved to do better. There's things that I would have loved to do maybe slightly differently. But generally, if you ask, the guys that started in 2000 go-karting, that it would make it to Formula One for 10 years, and then it would do IndyCar, compete in the Indy 500, get the fastest rookie out there. I mean, pretty awesome. And you know what? I'm 36, but I feel like I'm 22 or 3 when I'm in a car, and I just want to go racing for some more time.
When you run into Gunther Steiner on the at the paddock this weekend in Montreal, what do you think the first thing you're going to say to him is?
We actually saw each other in Miami, and it was good to see the guys from Haas. I've been keeping in contact with some of them. Obviously, they've had a tough run recently. They haven't been scoring as many points as they wanted, but it's always good to see the guys. I think it was a very important part of my career, and I'm very lucky that I was in Formula One for 10 years. Yeah. But right now, I'm super happy in IndyCar, and I don't really want to leave it.
Well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that. So the Indy 500, and you have to understand, Romain, this is a hockey podcast, so there's going to be a lot of people watching this. I'm a big motorsports fan, but there's going to be a lot of people watching this who don't know anything about it. The Indy 500 is one of those ones that everybody's heard of, everybody knows. 500 laps. It's a completely different type of race than we had seen you do before. What was your impression of it? How do you feel after a race like that?
I had no idea what I was doing.
What do you mean? Like in terms of just is it the strength? Is it the length of time? What is it?
It's everything. It's oval is so different from everything I've done before. It's like mountain biking, road cycling. It's the same thing. You're on a bicycle, but it's actually very different. So it was an incredible experience. It was great to see so many fans. It was good to be out there. Sadly, I didn't finish the race. We just didn't have a really good car, and everyone was telling me when the car is not good, there's nothing you can do about it. I was like, I'll do something about it. No, I did not. So they were right.
And I gotta say, like, you've got all your old fire suits behind you. I mentioned them before. How much do you?
And there's Champions of the team from Montreal jersey there.
Yes, the Montreal Canadiens. I can see.
Montreal Canadiens, yes.
That's right.
There you go.
The most championships in NHL history. Do you keep all of, do you keep every season? And does your wife get tired of you keeping all your stuff from the racetrack? Like, do you have to hide it somewhere?
No, actually, you know what? She's the one that's been always pushing me to keep at least one race suit per year. And I wasn't good at it. And when we moved in Miami, that room that was sit, I was like, okay, I'm going to do something like my small museum out of it. And I put all those race suits alongside each other. And the first one from 2000 is there until 2021.
Wow.
And it looks amazing. I was like, I'm glad my wife pushed me to keep some of the stuff because I was throwing everything by the window. I was like, yeah, I don't need it. You know, it's old. But no, I'm glad I have it.
Well, it's very, very cool. And one day, your kids are going to look at that and go, that's pretty cool. Although I think they're probably too young right now to get it, right?
You know what? My oldest is going to be 9 very soon. Second one is 7. So they understand it. I think they realize that my career has been quite. They come to the IndyCar race to realize, people are behind me and the fans and so on. So they love that. They really enjoy. We really enjoy our time in the States in IndyCar, and I'm super excited to come to Toronto.
Well, we're excited to have you, Romain. Thank you for making the time. When your name came up as a potential interview, we couldn't pass it up. You're amazing, and I'm actually a huge fan, so I'm tickled to be doing this interview. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care.
The Steve Dangle Podcast.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.